November 10th, 2025, as the equatorial sun crests over Kilimanjaro's eternal snows, Tanzania teeters on the razors, edge of rebirth or ruin, but 2,000 miles northwest, in the furnace-forged forges of Ouagadougou, a fraternal flame leaps the abyss. Sweeping cinematic drone shots capture the vast, golden expanses of Tanzania's Serengeti at the break of dawn, where acacia trees stand like ancient sentinels against the horizon. The camera glides seamlessly into the teeming chaos of Dar es Salaam's Kariakoo market, alive with the vibrant colors of kanga cloths fluttering in the breeze, vendors hawking roasted maize, and clusters of young faces, students with backpacks slung low, artists sketching murals of Julius Nyerere and Thomas Sankara on weathered walls. Cut abruptly to Burkina Faso's arid Sahel, where dust devils swirl around Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the 37-year-old revolutionary in crisp fatigues, his fist clenched skyward as the sun dips into a fiery crimson sunset, casting long shadows over ranks of disciplined youth brigades drilling in the distance. An electrifying Afrobeat fusion track pulses to life, urgent, trap bass lines intertwined with traditional Swahili ngoma drums and Burkina Faso's revolutionary balafon melodies, building to a crescendo that demands attention. On-screen text erupts in bold, Pan-African red, gold, and green. Traoré to Tanzania's youth, rise before it's too late. Live update. November 10th, 2025. 5.2 M views and surging. To Traoré Tanzania rise. Channel branding overlays. Africa's Awakening Hour logo pulses with a digital heartbeat. Subscriber count ticking upward in real time. 1.2 members and climbing. Subtle notifications ping. New comment. This is our wake-up call. Matur. Jamii ya Afrika. Habari za asubuhi. Greetings from the unbreakable spirit of our shared soil. And welcome back to Africa's Awakening Hour, the unfiltered, unrelenting pulse of a continent on the cusp of glory. I'm your host, Kofi Mensah, broadcasting live from the digital crossroads where history meets the hustle. And today, November 10th, 2025, we're not merely witnessing a moment. We're midwives to a movement. Hold tight, because across the vast Indian Ocean, from the sun-scorched heart of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the indomitable 37-year-old architect of Sahel sovereignty, who at 34 orchestrated a coup that shattered French puppeteering and reclaimed billions in gold veins, has hurled a lifeline straight to Tanzania's throbbing youth in a raw, riveting 15-minute address that's detonated 5.2 million views in under 24 hours across YouTube, TikTok, and X. Traoré stares into the soul of Tanzania's 70% under 35 generation and declares, Vijana wa Tanzania, rise before it's too late. Your ballot boxes are mirages. Your future a battlefield for dignity and destiny. This isn't some distant echo. It's a thunderclap timed to perfection amid Tanzania's post-election inferno. With President Samia Suluhu Hassan's razor-thin yet disputed 98% triumph in the October polls, boycotted by the Chadema opposition, and decried by youth as a farce, protests have ignited from the volcanic slopes of Arusha to the spice-scented shores of Zanzibar. Over 75,000 have hit the streets since November 1st, per Fresh AU Observer logs. Demanding transparency, not tyranny. Traoré sees the trap because he's dismantled it. Imperial vultures circle, ready to swoop on your cashew fields, your coffee empires, your untapped solar savannas. Just as they poisoned John Magufuli's well in 2021, but Captain doesn't stop at the siren. He blueprints the breakout. We're pulling live feeds from Dar es Salaam protest hubs, Ouagadougou's youth academies, and cross-continental connectors. If you're tuning in from a Tanzanian dorm, a Burkinabe barracks, or a diaspora den in Atlanta, this is your clarion call. Smash that subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, because when Tanzania's lions roar, Africa's pride reclaims the savannah. Let's unpack this powder keg, layer by revolutionary layer. A high-octane, 60-second montage, engineered for viral retention, rapid-fire edits, sync to the track's escalating rhythm. Grainy archival footage of Traoré's 2022 Ouagadougou Cup unspools, jeeps screeching through boulevards, crowds surging like a human tsunami under Pan-African flags. The palace gates crumbling in symbolic slow motion. Dissolved to Tanzanian youth in 2025, helmeted protesters hurling placards, reading Hakuna Uchaguzi, no more puppets, wood at riot shields in Dar's Uhuru Street. University students in Arusha linking arms around a bonfire, faces illuminated by phone screens replaying Traoré's speech. Zanzibari fishermen hauling nets heavy with resolve, their boats painted with Sankara's silhouette, intercut with Traoré's fresh excerpts, his voice gravelly and unyielding. Ndoto zenu si za wageni, ni za Afrika yenyewe. Your dreams belong not to foreigners, but to an Africa unchained. Explosive text overlays hammer home the hooks. 98% win, 100% warning. Protests 75K plus. Strong. Traoré Tanzania rise. Explodes 8. SM posts from Sahel. Storm to Swahili surge. The sequence peaks with a split screen. Traoré fist pumping in Burkina dust. Mirrored by a Tanzanian teen spray painting, Rise Late? Too Late! On a Dodoma wall. Music remixes Tanzania's Mungu Ibariki Africa anthem with Burkina's revolutionary horns, fading into a heartbeat thrum. November 10th, 2025. As the equatorial sun crests over Kilimanjaro's eternal snows, Tanzania teeters on the razors. Edge of rebirth or ruin, but 2,000 miles northwest, in the furnace-forged forges of Ouagadougou, a fraternal flame leaps the abyss. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the self-taught paratrooper who morphed from artillery, captain to continental colossus, isn't content with Burkina's triumphs. 70% jihadist evisceration since 2022, a 2.8 billion phoenix rise. Sovereign funds swelling from nationalized gold arteries. GDP vaulting to 7.8% on waves of youth-led agrotech innovation. No, he extends his gauntlet across the continent's waste, zeroing in on Tanzania's 18 million strong youth brigade with a message that's less sermon, more scorched earth strategy session. Uploaded at dawn via Burkina's state broadcaster, RTF, and rocketing through Pan-African networks. This 15-minute missive, already dissected in 12 languages, from Kiswahili to Wolof, opens with unflinching autopsy. Vijana wa Tanzania, the ink on your 98% election is barely dry. Yet the streets bleed truth. This isn't democracy's dawn. It's empire's dusk curfew. Samia Suluhu Hassan's CCM fortress. Heir to Magufuli's mailed fist that jailed 10,000 and silenced. Radios in 2020. Stands not on votes but vassalage. International observers from Washington and Brussels? They nod approval while their envoys ink deals siphoning. Your Serengeti sands for rare earths. Your Lake Victoria tilapia for Tokyo tables. I've stared down that serpent in the Sahel. We called it jihad. But it was jihad by proxy, fueled by the same hands that now aid your audits. To grasp the grenade Traoré's lobbed, we must excavate the roots, deep, tangled, and thorned. Flashback to 1961, Julius Kambaraj Nyerere. The teacher turned titan, shepherds Tanganyika to independence, birthing Tanzania in 1964's union with Zanzibar. His Arusha Declaration of 1967, a manifesto of majesty, Ujamaa socialism, villagization for self-sufficiency, nationalizing sisal plantations to feed African bellies, not European ledgers. We must run while others walk, he proclaimed, forging the organization of African unity's spine against apartheid's fangs. Tanzania became sanctuary, ANC exiles plotting from Dar's back alleys, Frelimo sharpening spears in Kigoma camps. But the 1980s, serpent strikes, IMF adjustments, under pressure from Reagan's Chicago boys, forcing privatization that hollowed factories, spiked school fees from 10 shillings to 500,000, and ballooned external debt from $1 billion in 1980 to $15.4 billion by 2025, per fresh World Bank tallies. Cashew farmers in Mtwara? Their nuts rot in transit while Indian conglomerates pocket 80% premiums. Coffee barons in Moshi? Yields plummet 30% from climate neglect, as foreign aid builds luxury lodges for safari elites, not irrigation for the masses. Seed grants for Arusha startups. Traoré Tanzania rise, 8.7 million posts, 25% engagement spike in East Africa. Per X Analytics, Gen Z turning Rise Late into memes, murals, manifestos. Detractors decry, junta meddling. From State Department briefs. Populist peril. From Brookings wonks. Traoré's velvet rebuttal in the clip. Meddling? That's empire's monopoly. We've buried their boot in Burkina's dust. Now Tanzania, dig the grave deeper. Magufuli stirred the hive. They stung back. You, swarm smarter. Peel back the youth veneer. In Mwanza, Lake Victoria's fisherfolk sons, battered by Nile perch poachers, spawned Traoré nets, co-ops with GPS buoys, netting 40% profit hikes via direct-to-market apps. Dar's UDSM Econ with Zara Mushi, 22. Live streams to 15K. Traoré's gold model will audit CCM's 2B election slush. Blockchain it public. Stat Seer. Tanzania youth unemployment 13.5%. ILO Nov 2025, but potential volcanic. 10B solar. Export by 2030 if harnessed. Pereirena models. Traoré's coda. Vijana. Time's the thief that steals in shadows. Rise organized or fall to fragments. Africa's map redraws in your image. Don't let it be sketched by strangers. This manifesto? Not ink on airwaves, but blood in the veins of a billion dreams. Tanzania, the flare is lit, fan it to forest fire. The music softens to contemplative kora plucks. Screen fracturing into a tri-panel, expert roundtable, holographic. Avatars materialize. Live poll overlay. Heed Traoré's call? Yes, 72%, no 18%, maybe 10%. Graphics, quote, cards float. Traoré, rise before it's too late. Nyerere, we must run while others walk. With rising bar graphs of protest momentum. That seismic voiceover sets the stage. But let's amplify with the architects on the ground. We're honored to host an all-star cadre cutting through the noise. Dr. Amina Juma, Tanzanian political scientist and Chadema youth vanguard from Dar es Salaam. Professor Elia Sankara, esteemed Burkinabe historian and Traoré's inner circle advisor. Beaming in from Ouagadougou, Jamal Kikuyu, the Kenyan Pan-African podcaster who's mobilized $500K for cross-border causes, live from Nairobi's vibrant streets. And joining for the first time, Sister Fatima Karoma, Sierra Leonean economist and AU debt auditor, dialing in from Freetown. Amina, Traoré's arrow hits your post-election bullseye. Genius ignition or reckless spark. Kofi, it's ignition with intent, a flare in the powder magazine of our disillusion. Tanzania's youth aren't naive. We're forged in Magufuli's forge, where 22 Umkani's landslide masked abductions and blackouts. Traoré's timing? Masterful landing post our November 3 Dodoma marches, where 75K, mostly under 25, demanded biometric audits, not bromides. His critique of the 98% farce? Spot on, voter registers bloated with ghosts. Per our parallel tallies showing 15M eligible but only 6M verified. But he elevates, not coup blueprints, but council architectures, Vijana Majlis like Burkina's. Federated assemblies with veto on foreign leases. Risks? CCM's imams could spin it foreign interference, mobilizing rural loyalists. Counter, leverage AU's youth quota, push for 40%. Parliamentary seats by 27. Blockchain secured. In my Dar focus groups, 87% of Vijana echo Traoré. Debt before degrees. His Phoenix model? Scalable. Seed 500 mil cashew co-ops, capturing 60% value chain. Tanzania, heed, rise not in rage but renaissance. Traoré's mirror shows our magnificence. Shatter the frame of fear. Professor Sankara, as Traoré's, kin and legacy, what threads tie? Burkina's storm to Tanzania's simmer? Ah, Kofi. The threads are sinews of shared sovereignty, woven from Lumumba's lynching to Nyerere's nobility. My nephew Ibrahim channels my brothers. 1987 Clarion, youth, you are the guardians of tomorrow. Slumber and tomorrow slays you. Tanzania's trap? Textbook. Post-Ujamaa reforms that privatize 300 parastatals, funneling $20 billion in assets to multinationals by 2000, per leaked IMF memos. Magufuli's bulldozing? Valiant, but isolated. He slashed debt service to 30% of budget, but lacked alliances. Traoré's edge? Ecosystem. Burkina's 2023 Sahel Pact with Mali and Niger, pooling 5 billion for joint patrols, slashing incursion 70% via AU-verified drones. For Tanzania? Export that. Indian Ocean Youth. Navy, Vijana crews patrolling against Somali skiffs and French. Research vessels. Funded by Zanzibari Clove royalties. Viral vector, our RTF dubs hit 12 mem Swahili views. Tanzania, meme it with diamond platinums. Rise late as ringtone revolution. Perils? Empire's stability funds. 1B USAID post-election bait. Laced with NGO spies. Antidote. Traoré's diaspora decree. 700 ambassadors wiring skills. Not just shekels. Tanzania, your Ujamaa ghost walks. Let Traoré's fire exorcise the fetters. History whispers, unite or unravel. Jamal, Kenya's in the mix with Babu Owino. Is this East Sahel fusion fantasy or forge? Fantasy? Kofi, this is forge fire. Real. Owino's November 9th. Huddle with Inusa Traoré in Kibera. Birth the blueprint. Vijana Axis Summit, Jan 26 in Addis. 10K youth from Cape to Cairo. Tanzania's primed 5K petitions by midday. Chadema youth syncing Traoré clips with Gengetone anthems. Wamlambez. Remixed to Rise Bez. But engagement? Explosive. 2.1 Mbu Kenyan shares. TikTok duet spiking 300%. Traoré's genius. Not savior syndrome, but strategy share. Burkina's. Blockchain elections. 90% transparency. Per MIT audit as template for your 27 polls. Hustle hack. Crypto co-ops like our M-Pesa 2.0, but sovereign. Vijana minting Tanz coin for cashew trades. Dodging SWIFT sanctions. Youth pulse? In Kisumu, lowlads formed Traoré pods. Peer audits on Ruto's hustler funds, exposing 200 million graft. Risks? Digital divide. 40% rural no signal. Bridge with Starlink barters from Musk's BRICS pivot. Tanzania, you're the hinge. Link Serengeti solar to Sahel grids. 15B green corridor by 30. Traoré's not Oracle. He's operator, plug in, power up. Axis awake. Sister Fatima, from Freetown's front lines, debt's the dagger. How does Traoré's swipe sever it for Tanzania? Kofi, debt's not dagger, it's decapitation, and Traoré's swipe is surgical. Tanzania's 15.4B noose? 40% budget hemorrhage, per my AU ledger. 6B annual to Paris Club ghosts. While education starves at 6%. Echo Sierra Leone's 90s rut. Post-Momo privatization. 800 millers bauxite to Rio Tinto. Youth riots quelled by eco-mog boots. Traoré's Phoenix? Sovereign alchemy. Burkina clawed 2.8B from Orano. Ring fencing for Vijana VTCs, vocational tech centers. Yielding 7.8% GDP alchemy. Tanzania Blueprint, Jubilee 2.0, Vijana-led audits via my AU template, exposing 3B ghost loans from 2010's Chinese rails. Model, Ethiopia's 2024 rebuff, slashing rates 20%. Risks, vulture funds circling. Elliott Management's playbook, buying distressed bonds at 10 cents, suing for full. Shield, Pan-African bond pool, 50B from BRICS banks, collateralized by your nickel, world's 10th reserves. Youth angle, Fatima funds, micro DFIs, development finance initiatives for Arusha artisans, 15% ROI via Clove NFTs, Traoré's rally, catalyst, diaspora 1B remittances, redirected from Western wires to Tan's treasuries. Sierra salutes, rise, audit, alchemize, debt dies in unity's dawn. Pan-African polyphony at its peak. Blueprints from the barricades. Fam, timestamp your takeaways. Now embedding with the vanguard. Expansive on-the-ground mosaic. 4 field reporters. Multicam frenzy. Shaky handheld cams capture unscripted urgency. Subtitles cascade in Kiswahili. English, French, Wolof. Music. Pulsing Tarab Taiko fusion underscores the raw rhythm of resistance. Kofi, UDSM's epicenter is erupting. Traoré's dawn drop screen to 4K. Vijana 2 hours ago. Phones ablaze as he intones. Before too late, claim your crowns. A UMET 19 coding whiz. Our theses track IMF leeches. Traoré's blockchain? We'll fork it for voter chains. Exposing CCM's 2M phantoms. Barricades up with recycled tires. But vibe? Electric. Pop-up Rise Labs birthing apps for Cashew GPS. 500 downloads live. Police drones buzz, but youth counter with signal jammers. Swahili raps remixing Rise Late to viral verses. One elder alum. Nyerere's ghost grins. This? Not protest. Prototype. Back with beats. Dodoma's diplomatic dust swirls with defiance, Kofi. Burkina mission hosts. 600. Elders griot telling. Sankara's 87 youth charge. Vijana pitching co-op charters. Aisha, 24. Moshi Coffee Air. Foreign roasters steal 70%. Traoré's gold grab? Our beans to Tan's roasts. 100 million reclaimed. Signatures. Surge to 25K for debt probe. CCM scouts sniff, but Traoré's quip lands. Cowards call it chaos. Murals multiply? Phoenix over Parliament. Faso Tan's bond? Forged in fire. Viva the vision. Arusha's artisan arteries throb Kofi. Masai mamas weave Traoré's words into Kanga motifs. 200 market militants mash his speech with Saudi soul hooks. 60K views instant. Elder Lenana. Like Nyerere's villages. But VR, solar co-ops beaming to Waga. 150 pledge cross exchange. Tan's coders for Burkina drills. Empire eyes? We wire around. Savannah stirs. Zanzibar's tides turn tidal, Kofi. Fisher sons scourged by EU poachers. Chris and Traoré trolls. Buoyed nets. 50% catch boost. Salim 21. Clove cartels choke. Phoenix for spices. Petitions to 10K. Separatist chants harmonize with Rise. Island ignites, ocean's ours. From quad to key, the ground quakes with quiet thunder. That's Pan-Africanism palpably. Immersive data deluge, hyperkinetic animations. Flame bar graphs erupt for protest metrics. Pie charts implode colonial myths. Predictive models branch like Baobab futures. Data deciphers the decree, necessities numerals. Tanzania 2025, mim souls, 70% Vijana. Unemployment 13.5%, ILO Nov. Protests, Popi 300% post polls, HRW. Traoré's Burkina beacon. Brigades eviscerate insecurity 70%. Fund alchemy to 7.8%. GDP. If Tanzania ingests 50%. 5B. Agrotech by 27. 15B green exports 30. IRENA. Infographic assault. Debt devour. 40% budget to creditors versus 6% youth skills. Youth yield. 18M potential. 10B solar if sovereign. Traoré Tanzania rise radar. 8.7 min posts. 15% East Africa spike. Tumtrim diaspora duets. Projection paths. Rise route. Ujamaa 2.0. 9% growth. Rift road. Status quo. 4% stagnation. Metrics mandate. Act now or atrophy. Chats ablaze. Let's lightning round. Vijana asks, how start a brigade? Traoré style, local cells. 10 strong. Audit 1 lease, scale to legislature. Diaspora dreamer. Remit impact? Redirect 20% to co-ops. 200-meter multiplier. Skeptic Sam. Junta risks? Accountability anchors. Elections 29. AU oversight. Your cues fuel the forge. Envision 2030, Tanzania. Transmuted. Vijana vaults, vaulting GDP. To 12%. Phoenix ports pulsing with self-shipped cashews. Traoré's echo, eternal. Rise and rewrite the stars. Tanzania's titans. Traoré's not prophet. He's prod to paradise. Rise before too late. Organize oceans. Innovate infinities. Unite unbreakable. Channel kin. Pledge in comments. Share to kinships. Sub for surges. Next. Axis Summit secrets? Kofi Mensa. Midwifing Africa's majesty. Asante Sana Salam. Siku Njema. Sovereignty forever. CTA Supernova, QR petitions blaze, sub-pulse, end screen, 5.2M views, Traoré Tanzania rise, Africa's awakening hour, sourced, AP, Telesur, X, AU, 9/10/2025. Chant echoes, rise, rise, rise.